Okay, let's dive right into Mark chapter 5. We really want to unpack the incredible events and insights here.
Yeah, pull out those key details and think about what they might mean for you, the listener.
It's quite a chapter. It throws you straight into some really dramatic stuff, doesn't it?
Absolutely. We'll start with this pretty intense encounter by the lake and then move into two other stories that are sort of woven together, stories of healing and faith.
Sounds good. So first up, Jesus crosses the lake. They arrive in the region of the Gerasenes.
Right. And immediately, as soon as Jesus gets out of the boat, someone meets him.
Yeah, and it's not exactly a welcoming party. Mark describes him as a man with an evil spirit coming out from the tombs.
The description is stark. Living among the dead, essentially, and completely beyond human control.
It really emphasizes that, doesn't it? That no one could bind him anymore, not even with a chain.
Mm-hmm. They tried, apparently. Chains, irons on his feet. He just tore them apart, broke the irons. Just raw, uncontrollable power. No one could subdue him.
That detail, tearing chains apart, it paints such a vivid picture. This is clearly more than just, a physical problem.
Definitely. And his state day and night among the tombs and hills, crying out, cutting himself with stones, it's sheer torment, inside and out.
Awful. But then something shifts. He sees Jesus from a distance.
And his reaction is fascinating. He runs to Jesus and falls on his knees.
Even in that state, there's this recognition.
Exactly. And he shouts out, "What do you want with me, Jesus, Son of the Most High God? Swear to God you won't torture me."
It's intense. And Mark adds that little note. Jesus had already started commanding the spirit to come out before this cry.
Right, the confrontation was already underway. And notice the title he uses, Son of the Most High God. The entity knows exactly who Jesus is.
Then Jesus asks its name.
And the answer is famous. "My name is Legion," the spirit replies, "for we are many."
Legion. Just the word itself conjures up this image of, well, an army, a multitude, overwhelming numbers.
Precisely. It conveys the depth and scale of the oppression. And their immediate plea is, don't send us out of this area.
They want to stay in that region.
Yeah. And then Mark points out this detail. There's a large herd of pigs nearby.
A very large herd. About 2,000, the text says.
Which seems almost too convenient, but it becomes central to what happens next.
The demons beg Jesus, "Send us among the pigs. Allow us to go into them."
And Jesus, he gives permission.
So the spirits leave the man, enter the pigs.
And the result is immediate and visually stunning. The entire herd, all 2,000, rushes down the steep bank into the lake.
And drowns. Just like that.
Gone. Imagine seeing that. The pig herders certainly saw it.
Understandably, they run off and tell everyone in the town and countryside what just happened.
So people come streaming out to see for themselves.
And what do they find?
They see the man, the one who'd been possessed by Legion. But now,
He's sitting there, he's dressed, he's in his right mind. The transformation is total.
you'd think people would be overjoyed, right? Relieved.
You would think.
Yeah.
But the text says their reaction was fear. They were afraid.
It's such a striking response, isn't it? Fear in the face of restoration. The witnesses told them the whole story about the man and about the pigs.
And that fear, combined with maybe the economic loss of the pigs, leads them to ask Jesus.
To leave, just leave the region, it's almost unbelievable. The power displayed was too much, too unsettling, perhaps.
Yeah, maybe the disruption was just too great for them.
Meanwhile, the man who's been healed, he wants to go with Jesus. Makes sense.
But Jesus has a different plan for him. He says no.
Right. Instead, he gives him a specific mission. Go home to your family and tell them how much the Lord has done for you and how he has had mercy on you.
He's essentially commissioning him as the first missionary to that region, the Decapolis.
Exactly. Go tell your story right where you suffered. And the man does it. He goes and tells people throughout the Decapolis, this region of 10 Gentile cities.
And the result? People were amazed.
It's a powerful ending to that encounter. Jesus sends this Gentile man, formerly tormented, to be a primary witness in a non-Jewish area. It really broadens the scope.
So much to unpack there. The sheer force of Legion, the visual of the pigs, the crowd's fear, asking Jesus to leave.
And then the contrast with the man being sent out to proclaim God's mercy, it really sets a dramatic tone.
Okay, so let's follow Jesus back across the lake. As soon as he gets to the other side, another large crowd gathers.
Always the crowds. And out of this crowd comes another figure, Jairus. He's described as a synagogue ruler, so a respected community leader.
And he falls at Jesus' feet, pleading. His little daughter is dying.
A father's worst nightmare. He begs Jesus, please come and put your hands on her so that she will be healed and live. It's raw desperation.
Jesus agrees and starts heading towards Jairus' house. But the crowd is massive, pressing in all around them.
And it's right in the middle of this chaos, this urgent mission, that another story unfolds, almost interrupts it.
Yeah, the focus shifts to a woman in the crowd. Her suffering is chronic. She's been subject to bleeding for 12 years.
12 years. Think about that. The physical toll, but also in that culture, the ritual uncleanness, the social isolation, it would have been devastating.
But the text adds she'd suffered a lot under many doctors, spent everything she had.
And only got worse. Medically, financially, she was at the end of her rope.
So she hears about Jesus. Maybe she feels she can't approach him directly given her condition or just the sheer number of people.
Right, so she comes up behind him, in the crowd, very discreetly, and just touches his cloak.
Her whole action is driven by this internal belief, if I just touch his clothes, I will be healed.
It's an act of pure, focused faith, almost anonymous in that moment.
And the result for her is instantaneous. The bleeding stops. She feels it in her body. She's free.
Healed. But then Jesus stops, right there in the middle of the crowd, heading to save a dying girl. He stops.
Because he realized power had gone out from him. And he turns and asks, who touched my clothes?
You can almost picture the disciples' reaction, like, seriously, look around. Everyone's touching you.
Yeah, they point out the obvious. You see the people crowding against you, and yet you can ask, who touched me? They're missing the point.
They see the physical crush, but Jesus felt a specific draw on his power, a touch of faith. He keeps looking around.
And the woman, she knows. She knows it was her, knows she's healed. She comes forward, trembling, full of fear.
Falls at his feet and just tells him everything, the whole truth.
Her vulnerability is met with such tenderness. Jesus calls her daughter.
Yeah, restoring her identity, her personhood. Daughter, your faith has healed you. Go in peace and be freed from your suffering.
He confirms her healing and explicitly links it to her faith. It wasn't just accidental contact. Her belief was key.
Such a powerful moment, and it happens while Jairus is waiting, his own situation getting more desperate by the second.
Exactly. And just as Jesus finishes speaking to the woman, messengers arrive from Jairus' house.
With the worst possible news, they tell Jairus straight up, your daughter is dead. Why bother the teacher anymore?
Just devastating. It's over. Hope is gone. That's the message.
But Jesus overhears this, and immediately, ignoring the message of despair, he turns to Jairus.
And says what must have been the hardest thing to hear, yet maybe the most necessary. Don't be afraid, just believe.
Keep holding on, even now. Incredible. And notice, Jesus then limits who goes with him.
Right. He doesn't take the whole crowd, or even all the disciples, just Peter, James, and John, his inner circle.
Heading into a house of mourning. When they get there, the scene is exactly what you'd expect. Commotion, loud crying, wailing. Professional mourners, probably.
The sounds of grief filling the place.
But Jesus walks in and challenges the whole scene. Why all this commotion and wailing? The child is not dead but asleep.
How do the mourners react to that?
They laughed at him. Laughed because from their perspective, it's absurd. They know death when they see it.
Their laughter underscores the gap between human perception and what Jesus is about to do.
So Jesus puts them all out. No room for cynicism or disbelief in that moment.
He takes only the girl's father and mother and the 3 disciples into the room where the child is lying.
A very small, intimate group of witnesses.
And then, the moment. He takes her by the hand.
And speaks directly to her in Aramaic, her everyday language. Talitha kum.
Which Mark translates for us. Little girl, I say to you, get up. Simple, direct, authoritative.
And immediately, she gets up, stands up, starts walking around.
And Mark adds another detail. She was 12 years old.
12 years old.
Yeah.
The same length of time the woman had been suffering. That connection feels deliberate, linking the two stories again.
And the reaction of the parents and the 3 disciples in that room.
Completely astonished. Utter amazement. Shock, really, seeing the impossible happen right before their eyes.
Understandable. And after this mind-blowing miracle, Jesus gives them strict orders not to tell anyone about it.
Which is fascinating, right? Such a contrast to the Gerasene man he sent to tell everyone, here, it's secrecy.
And then one last instruction, so practical, so human.
Give her something to eat. Grounding the miracle back in normal life. She's alive, she's well, she needs food.
Wow. So looking at these 3 stories together in Mark 5, what connections jump out?
Well, you see Jesus confronting such different forms of human suffering, don't you? Demonic oppression leading to self-destruction, chronic illness, and social isolation. And then, well, death itself. And he demonstrates authority over all of it.
And the responses to him are just as varied. You've got the demons recognizing him and pleading, the woman's quiet touch of faith, Jairus clinging to belief amidst the worst news.
And then the crowds, right, sometimes pressing in, sometimes terrified and pushing him away, sometimes laughing in disbelief. It shows that encountering divine power doesn't produce one single reaction.
Faith looks different in each story, too. The woman's desperate act, Jairus' sustained trust, even the demon's fearful recognition of his identity.
And Jesus responds uniquely to each situation. A sharp command, a gentle affirmation, a call to persevere in faith, a life-giving word, and those conflicting instructions about publicity versus privacy.
Those specific details we mentioned, Legion, the 2,000 pigs, the 12 years, Sapi Thakum, they really anchor these stories, don't they? They make them feel less like abstract legends and more like specific, impactful events.
Exactly. They add texture and raise questions. Why the fear? Why the laughter? Why tell one person and silence another? It pushes you to dig deeper.
So for you listening, what does this chapter reveal about freedom? Freedom from internal things, external forces. How might these stories challenge how we think about faith when things look absolutely impossible?
What does it really mean to just believe when everything you see and hear screams the opposite? These stories don't offer easy answers, but they show faith in action, even when it's trembling.
Definitely a lot to chew on there. And maybe a final thought for you to take away from Mark 5. In a chapter packed with these huge, dramatic displays of power, casting out a legion of demons, healing a 12-year illness instantly, raising a girl from the dead, Jesus tells one person to shout his story from the rooftops, essentially, and tells another family to keep it completely quiet. What could that tension, that difference between proclamation and privacy, teach us about how we share, or maybe don't share, our own encounters with the extraordinary?